The unveiling commander, Alina Vasquez, floated in zero gravity, watching through the observation deck as the final hull plates were welded into place. After 8 years of construction hidden behind Jupiter's massive bulk, humanity's greatest achievement was nearly complete. The Zeus Colossus stretched 22 kilometers from bow to stern, a testament to human ambition and paranoia in equal measure. The construction had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, while Earth's public space programs continued their modest explorations of nearby star systems. The real work happened here in the shadow of the gas giant. Mining operations on Europa and Io had provided raw materials, while automated factories on Ganymede had processed them into the specialized alloys that formed the ship's adaptive hull. Alina pushed off from the window and floated toward the command center, where her executive officer, Lieutenant Commander James Park, was reviewing system diagnostics. The Korean officer looked up from his holographic displays with a slight smile. "Final checks are almost complete, Commander. We'll be ready for the maiden voyage within 72 hours. She nodded, studying the data streams flowing across the screens. Every system on the Colossus represented a leap forward in human engineering. The fusion reactors could generate power equivalent to a small star. The magnetic field generators could deflect radiation that would cook an unprotected human in seconds. The weapons systems, though Alina hoped they would never need them, could punch through asteroids like tissue paper. "Have you ever wondered if we're being too cautious?" Park asked quietly, ensuring the bridge crew couldn't overhear. "Building something this massive without even confirming hostile life exists." Alina settled into her command chair, engaging the magnetic locks to keep herself in place. 3 colony ships have gone dark in the past decade, James. No distress signals, no debris, just gone. Either space is far more dangerous than we thought, or something out there doesn't want us expanding. The truth was that humanity had learned caution through bitter experience. Their history was written in conflicts and survival against impossible odds. When they had finally achieved interstellar travel 50 years ago, world leaders had agreed on one principle: never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Dr. Mikhail Volkov, the ship's chief scientist, entered the bridge with his characteristic enthusiasm. The Russian physicist had designed half the systems on the Colossus, including the revolutionary quantum communication array that could transmit messages instantaneously across any distance. "Commander, I have interesting news from our deep space monitoring stations." Alina turned her chair to face him. "What kind of interesting?" "The kind that suggests we are not as alone as we pretend to be," Volkov said, pulling up a holographic display. "These readings show gravitational anomalies consistent with cloaked vessels. They have been appearing near our outer colonies for months, always staying just beyond our sensor range." Park frowned at the data. "How many?" "At least 12 distinct signatures, possibly more. They seem to be observing our shipping lanes and colony developments." Volkov adjusted his glasses, a habit from Earth he couldn't break even in space. "I believe we have had an audience for quite some time." Alina felt her pulse quicken. If alien civilizations were already watching humanity, the Colossus would certainly draw their attention. "Double the security protocols for our launch. If we have watchers, they're about to get quite a show." 3 days later, the Colossus powered up its main engines for the first time. The massive ship began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence as millions of tons of metal and ceramic composite accelerated through space. The quantum drives engaged, bending space-time around the vessel and propelling it faster than anything humanity had built before. On the bridge, Alina watched their velocity climb. They were heading for the edge of the solar system, where they would conduct their first deep space trials. The crew of 12,000 was a mix of military personnel, scientists, engineers, and support staff. Each had been carefully selected and trained for this moment. "Commander," the communications officer suddenly called out, her voice tight with tension. "We're receiving transmissions on multiple frequencies. They're not human in origin." Alina stood, her boots magnetizing to the deck, put them through the translation matrix. The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a voice spoke in accented but clear English. "Human vessel, this is the Surveillance Council of the Galactic Assembly. Your construction has not gone unnoticed. You will cease acceleration and prepare to receive our delegation." Park looked at Alina. So much for being cautious. Alina stepped forward, activating the communication system. "Surveillance Council, this is Commander Alina Vasquez of the United Earth ship Colossus. We do not recognize your authority in our sovereign space. However, we are willing to meet under peaceful terms." There was a long pause. When the voice returned, it carried surprise. "You name your vessel Colossus. Do you understand what you have built?" "We understand perfectly," Alina replied. "We built a ship capable of defending humanity's interests while exploring the galaxy. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing less." The voice now held what seemed like amusement. "Commander Vasquez, your vessel is the largest military craft constructed by any species in their first century of interstellar travel. The Assembly has been watching your kind for 43 of your years. We expected first contact to occur when you developed sufficient peaceful technology. Instead, you have built a warship that rivals those of civilizations millennia older than yours." Volkov pulled up sensor readings on his station. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple vessels decloaking around us. 18 ships of various configurations." Alina studied the tactical display. The alien vessels were impressive, sleek designs that spoke of advanced technology. But even the largest was barely a third the size of the Colossus. "Surveillance Council, we see your ships. We mean no aggression, but we will defend ourselves if threatened." Threatened. A different voice spoke now, harsher and more guttural. "Humans, you are infants playing with nuclear fire. The hegemony of worlds has kept peace in this sector for 3,000 years. Your warship is a provocation that cannot be ignored." Park whispered to Alina. "Multiple species, probably different factions within this assembly." Alina nodded slightly, then spoke again. "Representatives of the Galactic Assembly, humanity has no desire for conflict. However, we have learned through our history that peace comes through strength, not submission. We built the Colossus because we detected signs that we were being watched. Where we come from, hidden observation usually precedes either first contact or invasion. We prepared for both possibilities. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the alien vessels. The weapons officer had his hands near the firing controls, but Alina had not given any aggressive orders. The shield operator had raised defensive screens to half power, enough to show capability without appearing immediately hostile. A third voice entered the conversation, this one almost musical in its tones. "Commander Vasquez, I am Harmony Keeper Zolani of the Ethereal Collective. Your species fascinates us. Most civilizations develop either military might or peaceful exploration, but rarely both simultaneously. Your vessel contains scientific laboratories alongside weapon platforms. Your crew includes artists and soldiers in equal measure. You prepare for war while hoping for peace. That's humanity in a nutshell, Alina replied. We call it speaking softly and carrying a big stick. We prefer dialogue, but we're prepared for alternatives. The sensor officer suddenly spoke up. Commander, one of their ships is approaching. It's sending a request to dock. Alina looked at her senior staff. Each gave a subtle nod of agreement. Surveillance Council, we will receive one delegation ship. You may dock at our forward diplomatic bay. Be aware that this is a gesture of good faith. Any hostile action will be met with appropriate response. Understood, Commander. The delegation ship carries representatives from 6 assembly species. We come to evaluate humanity's readiness for inclusion in galactic civilization. As the alien vessel approached, Alina turned to her crew. Remember your training. We're making history today, but we're also showing them who humanity is. Stay alert, stay professional, and keep all defensive systems on standby. The Colossus adjusted its position, opening the diplomatic docking bay. The alien ship was beautiful in its way, constructed of materials that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. It settled into the docking bay with barely a whisper of contact. Atmospheric match complete, the environmental officer reported. Their requirements are surprisingly close to Earth normal. Alina assembled her first contact team, herself, Park, Volkov, Chief of Security, Maria Santos, and Cultural Specialist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. They made their way to the diplomatic deck, where a reception area had been prepared months ago for exactly this possibility. The airlock cycled open, and humanity got its first look at its galactic neighbors. The delegation was diverse beyond imagination. The lead figure appeared to be made of crystallized light, shifting between colors as it moved. Behind it, a being that looked like a mixture of plant and animal gracefully stepped forward. A creature, covered in scales and standing 3 meters tall, ducked through the doorway, while a swarm of small, interconnected entities floated in perfect formation. The crystalline being spoke, its voice coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Commander Vasquez, I am Ambassador Prism of the Luxury Commonwealth. These are my colleagues from the Verdanian Gardens, the Saurian Empire, the Nexus Collective, the Aquarii Depths, and the Mechanist Union. Alina stepped forward, extending her hand in the universal gesture of greeting. Welcome aboard the Colossus. Shall we begin? First contact protocol ambassador. Prism studied Elena's extended hand with what appeared to be curiosity, its crystalline form pulsing with soft blue light. After a moment, it extended a appendage that looked like concentrated starlight and gently touched Elena's palm. The contact sent a slight tingling sensation up her arm, not unpleasant, but definitely alien. Fascinating, Prism said. Physical contact as a greeting ritual. The Nexus Collective finds this particularly interesting. The swarm of small entities buzzed in what seemed like agreement. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, her xenanthropology training finally being put to use. Different human cultures have various greeting customs, but the handshake has become our most universal sign of peaceful intent. Historically, it showed that neither party was holding a weapon. The scaled saurian made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter, still thinking of weapons even in greeting. Your species is consistent, at least. Alina led the delegation to a conference room specially designed for this purpose. The chairs could adjust to accommodate various body types, and the atmospheric controls could create different zones if needed. The plant-like Verdanian settled into something resembling a meditation pose, while the saurian remained standing, too large for any chair. Before we begin formal discussions, Alina said, may I offer refreshments? We've prepared various options based on theoretical xenobiology. The Aquari representative, speaking through a translation device attached to its environmental suit, gurgled something that translated as amusement. You prepared for first contact with beings you had never met. Again, this speaks to your dual nature of hope and paranoia. Volkov brought forward a selection of nutrients and liquids, each carefully labeled with their molecular composition. The aliens examined them with various sensory organs, some taking small samples for analysis. Now then, Ambassador Prism began, its form shifting to a more formal configuration. Let us address the primary concern. Your vessel represents a level of military advancement that typically takes species 500 years to achieve. You have accomplished this in less than 50 years since your first interstellar flight. The assembly needs to understand your intentions. Alina had prepared for this question. Our intentions are simple: survival and exploration. Humanity's history is filled with examples of civilizations that fell because they were unprepared for external threats. When we detected signs of observation, we chose to prepare for any possibility. The Mechanist Union representative, a being that appeared to be more machine than biological, projected a holographic display. Your ship's specifications are impressive but crude. Kinetic weapons, nuclear missiles, primitive laser systems, yet the power output and armor composition could make it effective against more advanced vessels. You built a sledgehammer when others would build a scalpel. Park leaned forward. With respect, a sledgehammer is still effective if you swing it hard enough. We may not have your level of technology, but we understand physics and engineering. We built what we could with what we had. The Vidanian rustled its leaf-like appendages. What concerns the gardens is not your weapons, but your expansion rate. 12 colonies in 50 years, with plans for dozens more. You spread like seeds on the solar wind, claiming worlds at a pace that alarms established territories. We're not claiming anything that's already inhabited, Alina countered. Every world we've colonized has been empty of intelligent life. We conduct extensive surveys before establishing any presence. Empty now, the Saurian growled. But some of those worlds were once home to civilizations that no longer exist. The galaxy has seen empires rise and fall. The question is whether humanity will be a constructive addition or another aggressive species that needs to be contained. Santos, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. Contained, that sounds like a threat. The room tensed. The alien delegates exchanged what Alina assumed were meaningful looks, though reading non-human expressions was nearly impossible. Ambassador Prism's light patterns shifted to deeper reds. It is not a threat, but a statement of historical fact. The Assembly has, when necessary, limited the expansion of species that posed a danger to galactic stability. Usually, this is done through diplomatic means. Sometimes, other methods are required. Alina stood, her command presence filling the room despite being physically smaller than most of the delegates. Then let me be equally direct. Humanity has no desire for conflict with the Assembly or any of its members, but we will not accept limitations on our peaceful expansion. We will not submit to external control of our development, and we will defend ourselves against any aggression, even against the combined might of the Assembly. The Nexus Collective asked, their unified voice carrying a note of challenge. We built the Colossus in 8 years, Volkov interjected. Secret, with limited resources, while maintaining our public space program. Imagine what humanity could build if truly threatened. We are a species that split the atom when we barely understood radiation. We reached our moon with computers less powerful than a modern calculator. Adversity doesn't stop us, it motivates us. The acquiree made a bubbling sound. You speak of your achievements with pride, yet many were born from conflict among your own kind. You have spent more resources on weapons than any other developing species we have observed. Because we learned hard lessons, Alina replied. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Nuclear war, ecological collapse, resource depletion. We've stood on the brink and pulled back. Those experiences taught us that strength and vigilance are necessary for survival. Dr. Tanaka added, but they also taught us the value of cooperation. The Colossus wasn't built by one nation, but by united Earth. We've learned to channel our competitive nature toward common goals. The Mechanist Union projected new data. Your quantum communication system is particularly interesting. You developed instantaneous transmission independently, something that took most species centuries to achieve. Your approach is unorthodox, but effective. We're good at finding unorthodox solutions, Park said with a slight smile. It's kind of our thing. Ambassador Prism stood, or rather, reformed itself into a standing position. The Assembly must deliberate. Your species presents a unique challenge to our established protocols. You are neither purely peaceful nor purely aggressive. You prepare for war while claiming to seek peace. You expand rapidly but claim no hostile intent. We're complicated, Alina admitted. But isn't that true of most intelligent species? Don't. You all have your own contradictions and dual natures. The Vidanian made a sound like wind through leaves. Perhaps that is why you concern us. You remind us of ourselves in our younger days, before we learned the cost of unchecked ambition. The Saurian stepped forward, towering over the humans. My people were once warriors, conquerors of 100 systems. It took a war that nearly shattered the galaxy to teach us restraint. We see in you the same fire that once drove us. But we also see potential, the Nexus Collective added. Your creativity, your adaptability, your determination, these could be assets to the galaxy if properly directed. Alina felt the conversation shifting. Then help us direct them. Don't contain us, engage with us, trade with us, share knowledge. We can learn from your experiences without having to repeat your mistakes. Ambassador Prism's light patterns cycled through various colors before settling on a soft gold. You propose partnership rather than subordination. We propose mutual benefit, Alina said. Humanity brings innovation, determination, and yes, military strength to the table. In return, we gain access to galactic knowledge and technology. Everyone benefits. The Aquarii gurgled thoughtfully. Your ship could serve as a peacekeeping vessel, protecting trade routes from pirates and maintaining stability in frontier regions. While your scientists contribute their unorthodox approaches to common problems, the Mechanist Union added. The discussion continued for hours. The aliens questioned everything from human philosophy to their biological needs. They seemed particularly fascinated by humanity's ability to thrive in diverse environments and their tendency to pack bond with almost anything, including their machinery. Finally, Ambassador Prism called for a recess. We must consult with the full assembly. This decision cannot be made by our delegation alone. As the aliens returned to their ship, Elena's team gathered in a secure briefing room. Thoughts? Alina asked. They're afraid of us, Santos said bluntly, but they're also curious. It's an interesting combination. Tanaka nodded. Each species seems to see something of themselves in us. The Saurians see warriors, the mechanists see engineers, the Verdanians see rapid growth. And that either makes us relatable or dangerous, Park added. Volkov was studying his pad. Commander, I've been analyzing their technology during the meeting. Their ships use a form of energy manipulation we don't understand, but their defensive capabilities seem to rely on deflection rather than absorption. Our kinetic weapons might actually be more effective against them than they realize. Let's hope we never have to test that theory, Alina said. 3 hours later, the delegation returned. Ambassador Prism's form seemed brighter, more defined. The Assembly has reached a decision, Prism announced. Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Assembly. You will have access to trade routes and basic technological exchanges. However, there are conditions. Alina remained standing. We're listening. First, the Colossus and any similar vessels must be registered with the Assembly and their movements tracked. Second, human expansion must be coordinated through Assembly channels to prevent conflicts. Third, a permanent diplomatic mission must be established on the Assembly capital world, and in return, Alina asked, humanity gains protection under Assembly law, access to our trade networks, and gradual introduction to advanced technologies as you prove ready for them. Alina looked at her team, seeing agreement in their eyes. We'll need to consult with Earth's leadership, but I believe these terms are acceptable in principle. There is one more thing, the Saurian rumbled. The Assembly wants humanity to provide something unique to our collective. What's that? The alien's reptilian features formed what might have been a smile. Your perspective, your unorthodox solutions, your dual nature of warrior and explorer. The galaxy has grown stable, perhaps stagnant. You humans might be the catalyst for positive change. As the delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Prism approached Alina personally. Commander, a word of advice. The Assembly has factions that wanted to contain humanity immediately. Your show of strength with the Colossus actually helped your case. It showed you could not be easily subdued. But be careful. Build trust slowly. Some members have long memories and longer grudges. Alina nodded. Thank you for the warning. One question, Commander. Would humanity really have fought if we had tried to contain you? Alina met the alien's shifting gaze steadily. Ambassador, we would have fought with everything we had, and we would have found a way to win or died trying. That's who we are. Prism's form flickered in what seemed like amusement. I believe you would have. That's precisely why the Assembly decided to welcome you instead. As the alien ship departed, Alina stood on the observation deck with her senior staff. The Colossus continued its journey to the edge of the solar system, but now with a new purpose. They were no longer just humanity's sword and shield. They were its ambassadors to a larger universe. Send a message to Earth, Alina commanded. Tell them first contact has been established. Humanity just joined the galactic community. Park smiled. Think they're ready for us. Alina watched the stars stretch as the Colossus engaged its quantum drives. Probably not. But then again, I don't think we're ready for them either. That's what makes it interesting. The massive warship accelerated into the void, carrying humanity's hopes and determination into a galaxy that would never be quite the same again. The age of isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun.